We are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Nell. I'm the executive director of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. One more pass with the tornado sirens. Welcome to our Monday Lunch and Learn. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by Dr. JohnElla Holmes of the Kansas Black Farmers Association. Hello, Dr. Holmes. How
Hi.
are you?
Hi, I'm doing very well.
I must say, when I first got this job, I had heard that something as the Kansas Black Farmers Association existed, and
Uh,
I was like, "There's a Kansas Black Farmers Association. I must find out about this organization." And I even on my personal Facebook page over the last year and so, you and I have had a couple conversations, and I've
mhm.
posted about them on my personal Facebook page. And I would be like, "There's a Kansas Black Farmers Association," and I was talking to the executive director, JohnElla Holmes, and she said, and there were people who were commenting, the executive director of the Kansas Black Farmers Association is a woman.
As a
What?
woman.
I'm like, I'm just amazed. So I'm going to start by everyone's favorite thing is I have sort of put together a little bio. I'm going to read that
Okay.
and some background on the Farmers Association. Okay, here we go. Dr. JohnElla Holmes is a graduate of Kansas State University with a PhD in special education, counseling, and student affairs. Her dissertation topic was focused on African American and Latino American alumni of agricultural programs. It's not surprising that she extended this interest in her work as the executive director of the Kansas Black Farmers Association. The KBFA is a 501c3 charitable organization founded in 1999 by the farmers of Nicodemus, Kansas, for mutual support and cooperative agricultural market development. The mission of the Kansas Black Farmers Association is to preserve the Kansas minority farmer legacy through education and promotion of agricultural lifestyle and the collective niche product development. Recently, the Kansas Black Farmers Association has been awarded an Increase the Reach grant to help vaccinate the Black and people of color rural and urban communities. So we're going to talk about all of that. Nicodemus, we're
Okay.
going to talk about Nicodemus. We're going to talk about the Black Farmer Association. We're going to talk about your Increase the Reach grant. And but my first question always, what are you having for lunch?
Well, I'm going to do a big salad because I'm starving, but I thought I would wait.
Ah, I too had a big salad, but I had to
Mhm.
eat ahead of time because like 11:15, my stomach was already growling, and I'm
Ah,
like, okay, you just got to eat.
mhm,
You just got to
mhm.
eat something now. Okay, so I wanted to start with Nicodemus.
Absolutely.
Just as a topic in itself, there even with this program, I thought I need to get someone from Nicodemus just to come out and talk about Nicodemus. So you're kind
Mhm.
of doing double duty. So if people are unfamiliar with Nicodemus, because I know you're also involved with Nicodemus's historical society,
Mhm.
and so I'm gonna stop talking. You can tell us about Nicodemus.
Well, in 1877, my great great grandparents they rode the train from what they went from Kentucky, from a plantation in Kentucky, Richard M. Johnson's plantation, and they went to Cincinnati where they caught a train, and the train brought them to Ellis, Kansas. I have found that this is absolutely phenomenal. That most immigrants came in through Ellis Island, outside of New York. And then we, as migrating people, we came to our Ellis Island, which was Ellis, Kansas. And that's where we knew we could go and walk about 38 more miles northwest, and we would hit the promised land, what was told to us to be the promised land. And so my great great grandparents were on that first group of people coming in. My great grandmother, who was pregnant at the time, 8 months pregnant, had the first baby born here,
Wow.
and the town was established. It was established by W.R. Hill and several African American ex-Buffalo soldiers that were over in the area. He wanted his own town, but that's okay. He was smart enough to know to go and get blacks to populate the county and that sort of thing. We were on the uprise. Our largest population was in the early 1900s, and that was about 700. And when you look at the census, they also count cows and horses. So,
I mean,
that,
in a rural community, the cows and horses are almost as important as the people.
exactly, exactly. The real demise came. we were bypassed by the railroad, and
Mhm.
that was kind of devastating to us. But the real demise was after the dirty 30s, the dust storms, and that sort of thing. In the 50s, when agriculture was really bad, and they weren't having good farm years and growth patterns and that sort of thing. And so a lot of people started moving away. Today, we have about less than 20 people that live on the town site, but we continue to have our annual celebration. This next year will be our 145th annual Emancipation Celebration. And so I invite you to come that last weekend in July. That's all you need to know, is it's that last weekend. We have a 3-day event, and that's mainly why we've stayed alive. And the other reason, and you're going to have Angela Bates, the executive director of the Nicodemus Historical Society. She's the one that worked with then Senator Dole and then President Clinton, and got the legislation passed and in place, and the law passed, and we became a National Historic Site.
Yes, so there's a park. It's a National History park site there at Nicodemus.
Yes, we are. We have park rangers and everything.
Yes, I know. I've been out there once, and I was my family. My father's side family comes from a small town on the Missouri side called Dalton, Missouri, which is so. I mean, when I was in Nicodemus, I was like, this just feels like a place that I am from, because my family is from a place equally as small, at least my father's side, a place called Dalton, Missouri, which I think, might have a population of about 27 people right now. It's like 5 double wides in a park or something. It's crazy. But yeah, so Nicodemus. So you actually draw your roots back to Nicodemus.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's Nicodemus as a settlement was very unique as well, because it was the first, or it's the longest lasting settlement, Black settlement out here.
That's still in existence from the Reconstruction period. Yes. We're the first. Yes. Bowley tries to challenge us down there in Oklahoma, but we've beat him.
To throw no shade with our friends in Oklahoma, but hey, we were first there. Okay, so now the Kansas Black Farmers Association was founded by farmers from Nicodemus. Yes. So tell us about the origin of the association.
Well, I have to go to 1983. Bernard Bates, who was a first cousin of mine, he passed earlier this year. He was farming his family's farm, almost made a century farm out of that, and had some pretty rough years, agriculture years, and he couldn't pay off his USDA loan. And they wouldn't extend it, although they were extending his neighbors who happened to be white, their loans because of bad crop years. They wouldn't extend his. And so he unfortunately recorded and photographed and had documentation of them dismantling his farm and taking his equipment and cutting what wheat he had and selling it off, and he lost his land, and it put his family and he had 5 children at the time on welfare and food stamps. And so he wrote to then President Reagan and to Jesse Jackson of the Rainbow Coalition, and he says, USDA, they're not doing fair practices. They're not being equitable. And so he is the father of this protest and bringing this to national attention. So you fast forward to 1996 and 98, and some of the farmers in the southern states like South Carolina, Mississippi, they all kind of band together and they said, we've got to fight this. We're losing our farms. In the early 20th century, there were 14% of the farms in the United States were owned and operated by African Americans. Well, by the 1980s, 1990s, they were down to 1.7%. And so they said, we're losing our farm. We're losing millions of acres. And so these farmers all got together and they asked Bernard for all of his paperwork because, historically, we're not good at keeping paperwork. But this man documented everything. And so his was the basis for the Pickford versus Glickman, who was the secretary of the USDA. It was his paperwork that was the foundation for that lawsuit. And so the farmers got together so that they would have a collective vote and voice, in this and representation. Once the settlement was arrived, Bernard and several others of the farmers, they didn't get any settlement.
That was my question.
Yeah, they didn't get any settlement, and that was documented. And so out of that, it kind of made the KBFA look at where do we go from here? How do we keep going forward? And then there was infighting because some of them did receive a settlement and some didn't. And so there was a few of them, Gil Alexander, one of our largest farmers out this way, that said, we're going to have to just move into research and look for a niche that's going to really help us. And so that was the foundation of the Kansas Black Farmers.
Okay, so it's been around since 1999.
1999. And we became a 501 charitable institution in 2004.
Okay. And so what has been the niche that you've gone into, or what are the operations that are currently going on with KBFA?
Well, they were trying to do where each of our farmers would raise wheat, and then we would have that wheat milled, and they would have their own mill site here. And we had that going for a couple of years, where they would mill the wheat and then they would disperse it, throughout the country, to producers and that sort of thing. And that would be a product base for our farmers. But there were, General Mills and Pillsbury and all of those bigger milling companies that really had the market kind of monopolized at that time. Yeah. And so it just wasn't monetarily feasible. And so then you could pretty much say then that's how I got involved.
Okay, yeah. So how did tell us about how you became involved with them? You have a background in Nicodemus, so you're familiar with the area, you're familiar with the lie of the land out there. So
exactly, and the farming and cousins farming, and my parents lost their land and all of that sort of thing. But I've always kept the connection. I was working at Kansas State University with my cousin Verl Schweitzer, and we were doing the trio programs. And he was like, "We got to do a camp for youth because they've got to stop thinking about farming and equating that to slavery. And we've got to return that sense of pride." And so we developed a camp in 2005. We started working on that with my sister, Dr. Tammy Counts, developing the curriculum and working with Dr. Zia Wiley, who is the first African-American woman assistant dean in the College of Ag in the Big 12. And so we started working with them. And then in 2007, we launched our summer camp program. Well, Gil, another cousin, he was like, "We've got to do something. We're losing our membership. We don't have this niche product, look at our goals and that sort of thing." And he says, "I think you've got the research ability and the connections here at K-State to really take us to that next level." And I was like, why not? And so, I'd already started the camp and that sort of thing. And so we looked at grants and SARE, which is Sustainable Agriculture for Research and Education, looking at those grants, looking at climate smart, regenerative practices, which, KBFA farmers were far ahead of our white predecessors because they were already doing no-till and some other things to try to nourish the ground and that sort of thing. And so it was like, we got to bring in speakers. We've got to put these programs together. We've got to figure out what resources are out there. We've got to write grants. And so that's what, I turned and I started doing. And in 2015, I decided to take an early retirement and move home so that I could have boots on the ground and work with Kansas Black farmers.
So this is what you do full time?
Full time
in your retirement.
In my retirement, and no pay.
People who they retire. I hear a lot of people retire, then they wind up being more busy even than when they were working.
It's ridiculous. This weekend, it was my reunion at Emporia State, but because of the Increase the Reach grant, we took that opportunity to do a vaccine and testing clinic, and bring that awareness. And, that's a whole different issue. But then I had already obligated to do a panel discussion at the Land Institute's Prairie Festival, which was held Saturday south of Salina. And so I put the panel together, which included Donna McClish. Oh, my goodness, a powerhouse out of Wichita. And then Webb Davis, and these are all members of KBFA, Webb Davis, who's a Century farmer and also does a lot of farm action and policy, work. And then Ryan Tinney and his partner Izulu, they have this progressive farm outside of Lee's Summit. And so we were all on a panel to discuss, Black farmers do exist. Here's our shirt and logo.
Yes, I was looking around the shop. There's, you know what, this will be a good segue. I just dropped in the chat the website. Yeah. And on the website, they have a store. So you can buy stuff. I find that no matter what I'm doing, if there's like a store involved, I'm like, ooh, what's the merch? Let me put this out there. What's available? I like your logo. Okay, so yeah, but the you say there's a progressive farm outside of Lee Summit. So especially now with the arrival, potentially the arrival of medicinal marijuana to the state, or is that something that Black farmers are moving into that area?
Oh, yes.
Good,
yes, we are. Yes, we are. We've secured a grant and we're going to have our first wind tunnel or hoop house. And that's where we'll be able to grow in a controlled environment. And we'll be doing that as one of our first plots for our farmers. It's supposed to be lucrative. A former Representative Willie Dove is the one that really got us on the path to doing that. And bless her heart, Representative Gail Finney was working with us also to get that movement going and working with us on the grant when she passed. And so we have the support of senators on both aisles that are trying to help us move, into that and to have a product that will really work for our farmers.
Oh, good.
I know. I'm excited.
I'm thrilled to hear that. I know with sometimes with new industries that come in, but to make sure that Black people are being able to benefit from these new industries that are coming in. So it's good to, I'm not surprised at all, but just to say it out loud that you guys are in there on the ground level, making sure that Black farmers are getting a piece of that economic pie of getting involved in the growing.
Absolutely. Maurice Parks, who owns his own Verizon store in Shawnee, Kansas, he's one of our leads on that. And he's started breaking that out a couple of years ago for us. So this year we're going to do it.
I met him I think I met him actually, I think I met him at a Black Legislative Day at the Capitol.
Okay. Probably.
I remember him. Yeah.
A powerful young man.
So now, okay. So you may have touched on this, but how you actually got involved with Black Farmers Association is just because you come from a family of farmers and you have you have cousins and family members who are in farmers. They are farmers. I dropped the link into the chat. And so tell us also about these programs. I know you have the Schweitzer KSU Agriculture Camp for Youth. So talk a little bit about that, how you're reaching out to young people in the state.
Oh, absolutely. Minus the COVID year, we celebrated this past year our 15th anniversary of the camp. Yes. And we're very proud of that. We've served over 733. We do an exclusive week-long camp, and we are intentional about the curriculum and what we expose them to. We also want to make sure that we're getting inner city kids to come, as well as some rural, because we want to mesh that. But these inner city kids, they're here with us for a week. 2 days at Kansas State University, where Dr. Wiley has developed the curriculum where they actually work with professors, agronomy professors. They go to the dairy barn. But most of all, they see Manners students. And Manners is an acronym for minorities in agriculture, related sciences and resources.
Okay.
And so they get to see students that look like them, that are majoring in these majors, that are getting their PhDs in this. We have a grant that we've gotten a grant. I can't tell you the name of it because the USDA has to make the announcement, but we got it. And so we're going to get to hire, in one of the PhD students to help us continue with that research and everything. But he's worked with the camp every year that he's been there. And they bring in interns from Prairie View and from Lincoln University, those historical black colleges, so that these kids can see that this is a honorable area for you to look at. And also there's money and resources and scholarships for you to be there. Then USDA, when Eric Banks, first African-American in the region to be a regional director of the USDA, he made a memorandum of understanding with us, and he has given us money each year to operate the camp too. But we take that opportunity to expose them to water resources and how we're running out of this resource, and looking at how we're wasteful with it. And so they take them down into the river, they shock the fish, they teach them what is the habitat of that and how they test that, and also soil. So we spend a day doing that. And then the rest of the week is spent out here in Nicodemus, where they have campfire with the Buffalo Soldier reenactors. They go horseback riding. They go to Webster Dam and they learn to fish, which is one of the most tranquil times of the entire week. They get so serious. And a girl, not trying to be misogynistic, but a female has won the first fish and the most fish every year. A prize for doing that. And then we do have a product, the pancake mix, which is out there on the website too and available. And we end with our 4-H project, and then with the big medals and the pancake breakfast.
Okay, so this sounds fantastic. It's like I want to go to camp.
Everything is free. We raise all the money.
Oh, good to know.
They never pay a dime, so they need to come on and get in.
I may just send my kids out to you. This guy.
Please do.
So again, the website is in the chat, and if you go to the chat, if the website, you just scroll down. It's on the front page. You don't have to hunt for it.
And the camp has its own website.
Oh yes.
Okay, so the link is on there.
Okay, but it'll be attached to the KBFA main website.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a couple minutes left. I do want to talk about, and I know you said you just got a grant. You can't tell us because you're waiting. You can't get ahead of the USDA, so I won't spoil that because I don't know the details enough to spoil it. But I do know you've achieved, and you've been awarded an Increase the Reach grant, which is a big deal.
Yes.
To deal with COVID vaccine response and education and information. So I think it's because of the Increase the Reach grant that's where I first sort of met you at an event here in Topeka. So talk to us about that and how your involvement with the COVID vaccine response.
Well, your office had given me information on the Kansas beats the virus. And so we got those smaller grants, and then you told us about the PAVE grant. So we were able to apply and get that. And then you told me about the Increase the Reach grant, and we applied for that. And between you and Dr. Garcia, we were able to secure that $250,000 to help us spread the word. By a previous COVID grant, we had already purchased a mobile vaccination unit. And so then we were able to go through the certification and do that. And so we've only been able to drive to a couple of farmers and provide them with the vaccination, but we do the pop-up clinic. We've been focusing on African Americans because that's the lowest population that's been vaccinated. And so a lot of our work has been done in Sedgwick County, Liberal out there in Seward County, Graham County, because there's a population, but a lion's share of it has been done by my sister, Dr. Tammy Counts in Wyandotte County. So we've been up here.
Right. And so do you have anything coming up in the immediate future? Any event that's happening?
Oh my goodness, yes. We have partnered with
Promote away. Feel free to promote away. Just promote anything you want to promote.
Okay, great. Starting in October on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll be at the Willa Gill Community Center, where they are also serving the population, and they provide them with lunches and meals and that sort of thing. We'll be there Tuesday to Thursday, on Tuesdays from 9 to 12, and on Thursdays from 1 to 5.
What city is that in?
It's in Wyandotte County.
Okay.
Wyandotte County. On Wednesdays, we'll actually be at, oh goodness, I'm losing it. Oh,
put you on the spot. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll be at a, but I'll pass you the calendar so that you can see. On Saturdays, we follow the mobile grocery stores. So wherever you see that going, and we have provided pop-up clinics for that at Guiding Star Missionary Baptist Church. That's on our calendar. We're working with Reverend Tony Carter on that. We're already going to be doing Boo to the Flu, and then another Halloween activity in October. But again, I'll make sure you have that calendar. We're over here on the west side of the state. We're finishing up with farmers markets and doing that in Ellis County, Graham County, Oakley, and also in Ness counties, those places. We have an office here in Nicodemus that you can make an appointment, because we're also a volunteer testing center, and you can come and you can get a test, or you can take a test and we will send it in for your rapid response on how you're feeling. So we're also a vaccination center for that.
Oh, fantastic.
And that's open anytime during the week, Monday through Friday, here in Nicodemus.
Wow. That's such good news. That's such good news. I've just been impressed with you and the Kansas Black Farmer Association ever since, like I said, ever since I heard that it existed. I've been fascinated and focused on learning as much about you as I could. So I'm glad that I've sort of been able to sort of say, hey, go get that money. And that you have not wasted one dime of it.
No. And thank you, Stacy, because you even went and picked up our gift cards, which was an incentive, and outside of the grant program. You have just been a champion for us, and we need more leadership like you.
Oh, well, thanks.
So whatever you need, I will do.
Shucks. Well, you know what? Spread the fact that once this video gets posted, like I said, share it out, because I think that's the thing. A lot of times, I feel like I can stand at top of a mountain and scream, "Hey, there's these opportunities," but not a lot of people actually know me. I think the people who I've personally met benefit most from what I know, but I'm trying to get the information out as much as possible. It's trying to figure out how to get the information out to as many people as possible, because there are a lot of people who still don't know that this department exists, or that that KAAAC exists. And so any information that I share only goes as far as it goes.
Yes.
I need help getting the message out farther.
I will do that. And even with the revitalization, you're a key component on
okay,
that.
So talk about, we have like 3 minutes left, but toss it out there. Talk about the revitalization.
Oh, yes. Donnie Betts, former senator, came up to honor Gail Finney at her service, and he took this opportunity to come to Nicodemus and talk to us about a revitalization program. And so he is the first person that has put you together with us, Carrie Gooch, and some other senators, some hard hitters, and you guys are really putting a plan together for us.
I know Senator Faust-Godot. Let me make sure I give credit.
Oh my goodness, that's a powerhouse.
She's gonna take the lead on this one.
Yes,
so it's not so much me. I think Senator Faust-Godot is very excited about this. So,
but everybody has said, okay, we got to make sure that Stacy is involved and that she can, keep the governor aware of what's going on and be a voice for us. So you're a key component. But you guys are the first ones to actually put something behind the talk. We've had people to come in and talk about, we can do this, we can do that, but actually put the strategic plan together and look at what we can do in 2 to 3 years. This is the first group to do it. So we're bringing industry. We will make sure that we have people walking around in period costume, just like they do at Williamsburg. The history won't get lost in any of that. And Nicodemus will be revitalized in our infrastructure.
Well, call me for that. I do love a good petticoat. So yeah, come here when that happens.
Oh,
Let
that's
me get
good to know.
involved.
And we have a documentary that's coming out that is led by Angela Bates and written by her too. So
Wow.
keep an eye out for that.
I will.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have like less than a minute left. So I always
Mhm.
take a little time at the end of everything to talk about voting because we have an election coming up in November.
Mhm.
So by all means, I'm going to drop in a couple of things. First of all, for ksvotes.org. So if you need to check your registration or get registered, if you have moved recently, make sure that you've updated your registration. Then there's another website called Vote 411. I love this one. I just checked it out this morning because you can check your ballot.
Yeah. Mhm.
There is a lot on the ballot coming up in
Mhm.
November. I think August 2nd got a lot of attention and it sucked a lot of air out of everyone's sails. But the United States Senate has one seat up. The United States House of Representatives, all 4 seats are up because they do every 2 years. Of course, there's governor and lieutenant governor. There's Secretary of State, Attorney General, treasurer. There's like all the Kansas House people are up, and then there's 2 more constitutional amendments that are going to be on the ballot.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's just so much. I mean, there's so much. So please take some time. Go to Vote 411. You can put in your address, and they'll pull up everything that's going to be on your ballot. So it's a wonderful resource. Okay, we're at a half an hour. It just seems to fly by.
I know.
But thank you so much. I do want to thank Dr. JohnElla Holmes of the Kansas Black Farmers Association. It's so nice to see you again.
And you also.
Even if it's just virtually, just to have a nice little chit chat.
Mhm.
Go enjoy your lunch salad, and I will see everyone next Monday.
Thank you.